What's going on, guys? It's Salvajee. Welcome to the first episode of Widowmaker spots. In this series, I'm going to be teaching you guys some beginner slash basic Widowmaker spots, but I am also going to be showing you guys some Widowmaker spots that are going to give you a great advantage when it comes down to, of course, Widow duels and, of course, other encounters. If you guys want more information about the series, of course, feel free to check out the introduction episode, which I will link in, of course, the description below. Let's get started with the first spots in the series. It's going to be this spot right here. Of course, we're taking a look at the map King's Row. This spot right here, it's very good. It's very basic, so that means a lot of people are going to see it coming. Let's say that you're playing Widowmaker in competitive. You don't want to use this spot in the beginning because someone can come up here from the enemy team and they can say, hey, look, the enemy team has a Widowmaker. So the best spot on King's Row, when of course starting out with Widowmaker, is this sneaky spot right here. When you're playing Widowmaker on competitive, you want the element of surprise. You don't want the enemy team to see you coming. So you guys want to use this starting route right here. You go through the left corridor, okay, and then you come through here. Usually there's a soldier over here, you know, trying to get some damage, and then he's gonna go to that high ground area over there. You just want to pick up the soldier, you know, maybe get like a pick or two if you can, okay, for the people that are camping here. And then, of course, if your team is very, very smart, they're going to be pushing, they're going to be hitting the Orisa. And of course, that's going to let you come over here and, of course, pick up a couple of kills, okay? However, I do have to say this spot is basically used for, you know, this little area right here, this little area as well, and of course this high ground area right here. Of course, it's really good when it comes down to this spot right here. Also, you can put a spray. Where's my spray wheel at? You can put a spray to just, you know, turn off that lamp if it annoys you, okay? But let's move on forward to this basic spot right here, okay? This is a really good spot, like I said, but an even better spot is this one right here. You basically want to be crouching, of course, because like that you're harder to hit. And of course you can uncrouch and then you can basically shoot the people that are down here. If you have a team that's very good, okay, if you have a team that's you know, adding some pressure into the point, this spot right here, it's perfect. And I would probably say it's one of the best ones if the enemy team is basically right there, okay? Because basically you're going to be able to just be constantly landing shots on easy targets while they're distracted on the enemies that are, of course, on the ground. If you watch a lot of Overwatch League, you guys also know this spot. You guys can just start the game, grapple onto this spot, and then you have a line of sight towards all of this right here, okay? And you guys can, of course, also come over here. The reason why this spot is really good, it's because it basically protects you from damage. You can, of course, you know, fall back to this area right here and you can get protected. And then, of course, you can also snipe people that are coming from this spot, you know, this spot, that spot as well. And then you can come over here as well to get some cheeky headshots, you know, maybe drop down, or of course just come back over here. I did say I was going to be covering some basic spots with Widow. This spot right here at the beginning, it's really good. Helps you deal with the soldiers that are up there. And of course this spot right here is also really good. A basic beginner Widowmaker spot, I guess you could say. Also, you guys can use the train to your advantage, or the bus. Yeah, this is basically a bus. Or you guys can also use the bus to your advantage, you know, destroy those bastions that are camping back there, or of course deal some damage over here, okay? We basically covered the first area of this map when you're attacking with Widowmaker, but I want to show you guys one more thing. Now, if you watch Overwatch League, you probably saw this. I believe it was New York XL versus some other team when they were running double sniper carry. But anyways, you guys want to come up here, you guys want to do a grapple shot, and then you guys can snipe someone that is over there. And yes, I'm not going to be covering a lot of grapple shots throughout the series because basically I do believe, you know, grapple shots are for the more advanced and intermediate Widowmaker players, okay? So let's move on forward to the defense side of things. I'm going to be covering, of course, this little area right here. This is a really good spot, okay, when you are on defense, because as you guys can see, it gives you a free view of the spawn. Let's say that your teammates just want a team fight right here. You guys can hop on over here and then you guys can just snipe people as they get out. It's really just that simple, okay? Another good spot is this little spot right here. Okay, if you guys got Hanzo's up there, Widowmakers up there, Pharah's up there, this little spot is really good because it basically makes it really hard to hit you. However, it can get predictable if you're on the spot over and over again. So another great spot that you guys can use is this little bush right here. You guys can crouch and then you guys can see to this area right here. This spot of course makes it very, very hard, you know, for you to get countered. Okay, and of course it definitely works also with a lot of Widowmaker players. You guys can also use this spot right here, although of course I don't really recommend it because, well, you're basically in the open. This little spot, by the way, take a shot every time I say spot. I'm gonna be saying it a lot throughout the episode. This little spot right here, it's also really good. This position right here, also very, very good for this one, but of course, you know, this position is basically very, very basic. You know, we got this position right here. It can definitely help you maybe get some headshots of the upcoming Orisas and stuff. Again, you know, not a crazy position, but of course it is a very okay position. Another basic position is this one right here, when of course you are on the defense side of things. As you guys can see, you guys have a line of sight towards this area right here. This spot gets used a lot in the Overwatch League, and then players come up here to this spot right here. You know, if there's a team fight going on down there, you guys can basically shoot over there. And of course, you guys can also grapple on over here and of course shoot from here. So those are basically all of the great spots for, you know, the defending Widowmaker on this first point. This spot right here, it's of course also very, very good. You guys can also do a grapple shot to this side right here, just in case you don't really feel confident. And of course, you guys can also come this way right here if you're defending with Widowmaker. And you guys can either get a cheeky headshot over here, or you can do, I guess you could say, the flanking Widow strat and come on over here and of course shoot the targets that are there. Okay, let's move on forward, of course, to attack. I do want to let you guys know, since there's so many spots that I have to cover in this video, I might miss some of them, so leave some other spots in the description below. Okay, look, when you're attacking, okay, there's a Widowmaker perched up there, right? So as you guys can see, you guys can use this little head glitch area type thing to get, of course, that enemy Widowmaker. And of course, you guys can also use this little area right here to combat her. And you guys can also do a grapple shot over here and of course finish her off. A lot of players, okay, also like going this route and basically just sniping players from here. That is of course a basic spot, so I don't really want to get too in depth into it. Okay, if your teammate is able to push the enemy team back, I recommend that you grapple on over here to this spot right here. Okay, it's going to give you a nice line of sight for the point. If you crouch, you almost have a lot of protection. It's going to be really, really hard for you to hit the head. And of course, you guys can also hit the targets that are coming from spawn. And of course, if you move on forward over here, you can also do the same, but you know, these trees basically get in the way. Honestly, I don't really like this spot that much, but of course, that is something you can do when you are attacking with, of course, Widowmaker. You guys can also move on forward to this spot and counter, of course, the Widowmakers that are up there, or you guys can go even further and of course move on forward to this spot. And of course, this spot also works in defense as well. So that's basically the first point of King's Row. Now let's move on forward to, of course, the second point and the third point. All right, so we're on attack. You just got the payload. You guys can grapple on over here and of course take out the enemies from this spot right here. You guys can also grapple on over here. This is a basic beginner spot, and of course you guys can shoot enemies from over here as well. Again, not a crazy, you know, advanced spot, but it is something that I should be pointing out. You guys can also do a grapple shot like this, okay, and basically just get enemies that are there or that are there. Remember, but not a lot of people expect the flying Widowmaker, okay, and of course that is exactly what you are. Of course, when you are on defense, you can use this little spot right here to shoot the enemies that are coming your way, as well as, of course, these right here. Keep in mind, Venom Mine right here would, of course, prove very useful. You guys can also use this spot on defense as well. This spot right here, this little area right here, doesn't really have a lot of, you know, great, amazing spots. When you're on defense, you guys can also use this spot right here if your team has the enemy team held up all the way over there. However, I don't really like this spot. I think coming over here is the right thing to do, because first of all, you can just use this for protection. All right, you can just keep you know, throwing your shots this way. You have a mega health pack at the bottom, which you can just drop down to and then get like this if the Winston jumps on you, and then you can get a headshot, for example, or a cheeky shot right here, and then you guys can move on forward to this spot right here and then just walk back and regroup with your team. You guys know what I mean? When the payload is about here, the enemy team is going to be coming towards you. I see a lot of Widowmakers, you know, back up to this area. Remember, you guys can use this high ground to your advantage. Let's say that your teammate is retreating. Okay, you obviously don't want to be here. You can just sneak past this area right here. When the payload's right there, when the team fight's taking place, you basically shoot them through over here as well. Now, when you're on attack, when the payload is right there, you guys can, of course, use your grapple, come all the way over here, and then basically just snipe players on, you know, from this spot as well. Okay, when the enemy team's pushing through here, you guys can also do this if you want. I don't recommend that, honestly. I don't really think this is a great spot, but I should point it out anyway because I know someone's gonna point out, hey, you missed this spot, that's kind of useless. You guys can do this, and then you guys can grapple on over here, you know, when the payload moves a bit less, a bit more, I guess, and just, you know, shoot the enemies that are here. That spot right there, the only use that it has is when the payload is over there and the enemy team is making their way to you. You can basically, you know, get a shot on someone, weaken them, get a headshot, and then of course you can just fall back and then wait for the team fight to come to you. That's basically what that spot is for. With that said, it is a good spot that can be used if you know, you want to get those cheeky headshots and you want to help out your team or get your ultimates. Alright, when you are attacking, when the payload is right there, you guys can come from spawn over here, grapple onto this little spot right here, and then you guys have some nice high ground access, and of course you guys can also snipe the players that are on the way. When you are on defense, okay, you guys can stand on this little spot right here. Of course, it's very, very good. It can help you deal with enemies that are on the payload there, and of course you guys can grapple onto this little spot right here when the payload has moved forward a little bit better. Now, as you guys can see, I'm a big threat right here for the enemy team. So how would you counter this spot if of course you are attacking? It's pretty simple. Instead of going the high ground route, you guys basically want to switch it up. You guys can use this spot right here to snipe the Widow, and then of course you can drop down, make sure she doesn't see you, and then you can finish that off. You can finish her off. So a lot of Widowmakers are usually going to stay aiming at this line of sight for about 10 seconds or so because they're waiting for you to peek. But since they're going to be aiming towards here, they're not going to be able to like flick you really, really quickly to that bottom area, of course, unless you miss your shot. So make sure you don't miss your shot, you know, no pressure. Okay, when you're attacking and the payload is right here, you can grapple on over here. You have some nice high ground access and basically a better view of this little area right here as well. When you're defending, you guys can take this route right here, and you guys can basically just snipe enemies from this little spot right here. You guys can basically choose this route if the payload is like around there where I'm shooting. You also have the health pack. You also have this exit strategy right here, and you guys can also grapple onto the high ground and see if you can get a cheeky target. If a Genji comes up to you, alright, and he wants to use the Dragon Blade, you guys can jump over here, maybe get a headshot, and of course move back towards your healers. So of course that is very, very useful. So again, when you're attacking, you want to be unpredictable. This is a spot that you guys can use as well. Again, it's basically a beginner one, so it's not really that much of a big secret slash big deal. But if there's a Widowmaker camping up there, again, you can outsmart her by choosing to go this way and of course taking her out, and then of course taking out the teammates that are over there. Because remember, you do have access to this little area right here. If you are able to survive the Widow duel, or if you are able to take out the Widow, you basically can just do a sort of like a flanking type strategy, and of course you do have access to the high ground. But now that we took a look at this second point, let's take a look at the third point from the attacking and defense perspective. Alright, so let's start off with attacking. This spot is obviously the one that you should be on if the payload is right there and the team fight's taking place right there. However, if the payload has moved on forward a little bit, a lot of players like to come over here. Alright, and they like to use this little area. You know, it gives you access to that spot, this spot, and that spot as well. Now, something that a lot of people don't know is you can actually jump on top of these crates, and as you guys can see, it gives you access to this area, that area as well. And if you jump on this crate right here, look at that, you also have access to this area right here. So I would definitely recommend that you guys use this little you know, these crates, as they can give you a really, really good advantage. Another thing that you guys can do in attack, you guys can come up here, grapple on over here, and then of course you guys can help out your teammates. So let's say there's a team fight going on right there, you can basically just snipe them from this spot right here. Okay, easy snipes, by the way, if of course the enemy team is unaware of your position. If the payload is over here, keep in mind you have access to this spawning area, you have access to this area right here, and of course this high ground right here. You guys can also choose to grapple on to this area right here, which is a very good high ground position, and of course help out your team when it comes down to this area and that area as well. Also, when you're defending, you can jump on these crates, and then you guys can basically take a look at the enemy team's spawn. Not that much, but hey, it can work. When you're defending, you guys can also come over here and look at their spawn. It's not something that I recommend though, because the way back it's a little bit long. You guys can also come over here and then shoot them as they come through here. This is a spot that I would recommend because you can basically just do this, grapple on over there, and then just regroup with your team. Okay, I would recommend this spot over this spot, by the way, just in case you guys are wondering. Alright, so sometimes you are in this little spot right here, or this one right here, and you can't snipe the enemy Widowmaker. You just can't win any fights, right? Now, let's say that, you know, you have to win this last team fight, or you just want to help your teammate out in the team fight. Keep in mind, a Widowmaker that isn't helping out her team in the team fight is basically just pretty useless, right? So let's say you're getting sniped over and over and over again. It's okay. Just because you don't have great aim doesn't mean you can't help your team. Just outplay the enemy Widowmaker. If you stand right here, you can contribute to the team fight that's taking place over here. And you are forcing the enemy Widowmaker to, of course, make a move on you. If you're picking up key targets from the enemy team, okay, the Widowmaker is going to have to, you know, it's going to be forced to take you out. And of course, if your team can, of course, defend themselves against the enemy Widowmaker, you should, you know, you shouldn't really have much to worry about, because of course she can also just ignore you and kill your team. You guys do have to keep that in mind, okay? Another thing that you guys can do is you guys can come forward to this area right here, and then you guys can also contribute to the team fight. You guys can do this if the enemy Widow decides to drop down to this area right here to counter you. You guys can just ignore her and basically force her to engage you multiple times. Keep in mind, if you do this, she might come from this little high ground area. Okay, if you see that, you know, she's been trying to shoot you for a while when you're in this area, and you feel like she's going to, you know, make a move on you, keep in mind you guys can go this way and then of course take her out. Okay, make sure that you are unpredictable, of course. Okay, you guys can also grapple onto this spot right here and of course help out your team when the payload is over there, or when the payload of course keeps moving. Anyways, now that I covered this first area for the attackers, let's move on forward to the defenders. Alright, so a pretty basic spot for defending on Widowmaker in this map. It's of course this little spot right here. Really good, gives you a good line of sight, and of course very helpful. Now when you're defending, you guys can also use this little spot right here. You guys can grapple on over here, maybe see if you can get a cheeky elim. Believe it or not, sometimes it helps. So let's say that you get a mercy that's rezzing someone. That's like a big deal, okay, because they have like one less person to deal with. You guys can also use this little spot right here. However, the smart thing to do is use this spot right here, because you're gonna be really hard to hit, of course. Basically only your head's gonna be showing off, and of course you can also just crouch for, of course, protection. As you guys can see, you're basically fully covered. Okay, you guys can also shoot people that are of course coming over there from that spot. And of course you guys can also come over here and contribute to the team fight from this spot right here, as well as of course use the grapple shot if a Genji or a Winston jumps on you. Okay, another spot is this one right here. As you guys can see, it basically helps out your team all the way from over here, as well as all, you know, basically all this area right here. Okay, now something that a lot of people don't know about this spot is you can shoot some enemies from here. And remember guys, you want to be unpredictable, so you can just drop down and come on forward to this little spot right here. Again, the crates, and yes, you can also just come over here and shoot them like I've said previously. Okay, another thing that you guys can do is use this little area right here as a head glitch position. You guys can see a lot of enemies that are coming this way, and of course you guys can just, you know, peek and shoot. Again, not super great, but you know, it's pretty good. All right, if you don't really have, you know, if you don't want to use this basic round right here. Of course, when you get out of spawn, you guys can come on forward over here and of course help out your teammates when they're over there. However, something that I don't see a lot of, it's teammates, Widowmakers coming over here, okay, and basically just sniping the attackers when they are over there. It's something that helps out a lot. Another thing that you guys can do, all right, is you guys can get out your spawn from this little area right here, and you guys can come on forward to this little spot right here. When the team fight's taking place, okay, over here, and you're basically, you grapple on forward over here, you move yourself to this position, you're going to have a lot of, you know, good shots on the enemies, because of course they're going to be fighting on the payload. And if they come towards you, all you have to do is just grapple on to this top spot right here, and of course keep raining havoc on them. Of course, it's something that's very, very useful. And of course, you guys can also use this little back area right here. If there's a Widowmaker up there that's annoying you, you guys can just camp up here, basically just force her to come to you. Okay, when it comes down to defending, you guys can also use this little area here, and you guys can also use this door, which is honestly not that used. Same thing applies to attacking. All right, when you're attacking, you guys can use this little door right here. Of course, it leads you to the health pack. It makes you look at the enemy spawn. This is also a very basic spot. This is also a basic spot as well. You guys can also, of course, grapple on over here and use these barrels as protection when you are attacking. Okay, last but not least, I just want to show you guys this flank. Alright, last but not least, I want to show you guys a flank. You guys can drop over here and then like throw your grapple all the way over here and then just do a widow flank like that if you are attacking. If you're on defense, you guys can also do the same thing. However, as you guys can see, you have to be very, very careful with your grapple, because it might definitely fail on you. I'm going to try it again. Okay, as you guys can see, it definitely worked out. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for King's Row. Now, did I miss any spots? I probably did, so make sure that you leave them in the comment sections below. Okay, if you guys enjoyed this Widowmaker spots episode, feel free to drop it a like, subscribe to join the Salvajee cartel, and leave me a map suggestion for the next map that you want to see if you want. See you guys in the next one. Peace.